Things are going absolutely crazy in the world from both a health perspective and also a financial one. As of today, now that I'm filming this, the stock market has fallen about 35% after the last couple of weeks. Now, I'm sure you're hearing two sides of the story here from people to say, well, you really should unload at this point because you don't know when things are going to bottom out. And of course, there's the other side that says, keep the money in, invest for the long term. In fact, if anything, buy on the dips. As for me, well, I've decided to sell everything I have in stock at this point. Now, as someone who's a self-made millionaire, I would rather put my money into investments where I can be proactively engaged in it. So usually when I put my money into the stock market, I rarely want to touch it. I'd rather keep it there for the long term rather than doing day trading and reacting to what the market's doing at the moment. So why did I decide to sell? I'm happy to share it with y'all. Let's do this. What's up, y'all? It's Joe Master Lee here, and today let's talk about the stock market, specifically why I have decided to pull out of the market and what I plan to do next. Now, in terms of investing, I am someone who tends to like to play riskier bets than most, and I realize it's not something that is actually sustainable ongoing. It's one of the reasons why I want to evolve this particular channel to cover my journey in terms of how I treat money, how I earn it, and how I invest in it, and how I save it. Comes with my money in the stock market. So I decided to sell what remaining stock I had in the stock market, and ultimately I did lose out on being able to sell it from the high, which was about a couple of weeks ago, which means I lost about a 20% opportunity in terms of additional gain. Now overall though, I'm actually up because the money that I put in has been in my account for over 2 years, and overall missing out on about a 20% additional gain isn't so bad considering the fact that the Dow Jones has fallen by over 35%. So why would I pull out at this point? Well, there's a couple of reasons here. I am someone who's always been fascinated with the historical trends of the stock market, both in terms of the macro trends and the micro trends, and how the market typically self-corrects itself and always goes an upward trend over time. However, what we're going through right now with this health crisis is affecting the world in unprecedented ways. It has never happened to this scale before, and as a result, it's very difficult to use historical economic models to forecast how things will bounce back. And my big concern is how quickly C-19 is spreading. Now I won't go into the specifics in terms of what this illness can do and how viral it is. We have a number of notable doctors and scientists state that up to 50% of the US population could be affected if nothing drastically was done. That tells me that this is multiple times more contagious than what a typical flu is, and also has a fatality rate multiple times higher than what the flu is. And because of that, governments and businesses are now taking drastic measures to try to prevent that scenario because they know if that happens, it is going to be much worse for them than taking the short-term financial hit. And I'll tell you, this short-term financial hit, it is a doozy. You see, the trigger for me to decide to sell was actually based on a couple announcements in the last couple of days. Things that I never would have expected to happen. And that is the top 3 states in the United States that account for the greatest chunk of our economy have basically declared that they're going to shut down the whole state. All non-essential businesses are being shut down. Many of the businesses are sending people home on their own. And a lot of people are now filing unemployment because of it. I mean, when you're talking about California, Texas, and New York restricting trade and commerce, you're already talking about a huge percentage of the American economy. In fact, as of today, even though there's only been like a handful of states that have followed suit and declared a shutdown, it now represents over 50% of the US economy. All in the hopes of trying to prevent the scariest outcome. And the problem is with when you have half the economy coming to a grinding halt for at least 30 to 60 days, although a number of people who are experts in this field had said that the impact of this is going to be even longer than 8 weeks. I am now concerned by the fact that the economy will not rebound in the short term. Things just can't go back to business as usual because there are a huge number of businesses that simply cannot weather not having any income generated for that long. And because of that, these businesses will shut down permanently. A huge number of people are going to be losing their jobs, which means that it's going to be a very slow process to getting everything back on track. And honestly, to make matters worse, our federal government has been caught up in these politics of trying to manage a situation, and up until even recently has downplayed the impact impact of what's going to be happening. And these mixed signals makes it very scary for investors to be able to rely on the government to be able to deal with this type of situation. Confidence in the government right now is definitely not at a high point. Now, to the government's credit, they have done a number of things to try to buffer the biggest pains. They've lowered interest rates now down to 0 to try to spur the economy. And they set in motion a $1 trillion+ package of aid to try to help individuals, small businesses, and big businesses. Money is coming to people's pockets to try to deal with this short-term cash crunch. The government has also postponed paying taxes and even postponed having to pay student loans. But this doesn't address and alleviate the fear that we have about what is going on with C-19 and how we're able to deal with it. It's really come down to the states and the local businesses who have taken dramatic measures to try to contain these things. And their solution simply will create pain in the financial markets in the foreseeable future. All right, so what are we going to do with this money at this point? Well, I'm going to sit it out for at least another couple of weeks to see how things stack up. We're seeing very positive signs in terms of how some other countries have been able to quarantine the whole country and how that has dramatically reduced the number of new cases that have come to light. But what I didn't want to do was actually take money out because of the fear of what's going to happen, but also because I felt like it was about time to shift my portfolio, because I do believe the economy is going to be very different once we come out the other side of this situation. Like I said, I'm not someone who proactively manages my stock day in and day out because I would rather spend my time managing my businesses day in and day out. But I do think a couple of opportunities are presenting themselves, and I wanted to have the cash available to take advantage of that. For instance, there's a number of stocks at this point we know are taking an extra hard hit, and that once things rebound, I do believe they would do very well. And of course, there are those companies that people will be relying on even more during the crisis. Companies like Amazon, since people are sequestered at home, and so that they can buy stuff and have it delivered right to their door. And in fact, Amazon stock has only actually dropped about 14%, which is about half of what has happened in the overall market. I also wanted to explore more dividend investments, which is not something I've proactively looked at in the past, but I do find it pretty fascinating. The idea of having additional cash flow come in to be able to pay my basic bills so that the rest of my income can be used to manage my businesses is something that I actually wanted to talk about more on this channel. And yes, this channel is actually one of the main reasons why I also want to take money out of the market to reinvest it into other things. In my family, for my wife and I've been pretty much the one who's been taking care of the finances. But I think it's actually a really good time to get Lulu involved in what's been going on as well. And so what I wanted to do is I'm picking out different opportunities to reinvest some of our money into. I want her to be involved with that process of learning what's the right strategy to use and to even pick out some of the stocks.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
And because I wanted to share that with y'all, because many of you are in the same boat as we are, I want to get feedback from you all as well. One thing I will say is that I have not taken money out of my 401k so far. I've left that alone. Didn't have to deal with the penalties at this point because I still have decades to go before I retire. The market tends to self-correct when you're taking a look at that long into the future. So while this body may feel old, I still got a long ways to go before I can touch that cash. Although I might look into a short-term IRA rollover bridge loan, which will allow me to take money out and move it to another account, giving me about 60 days to take advantage of what the market's doing. Yeah, that's something I'll think about a little bit more in the future. So let me know what you all are planning to do. Are you planning to take money out of the market at this point? Have you already done so? What's your strategy of getting back into the market? And what do you think you're going to reinvest into? Make sure you subscribe. What I'm looking forward to do is actually share with you all my strategy moving forward and how for me, this will also be a really good time to level up my understanding of the financial markets. So let's go on this journey together, y'all. All right, y'all, peace out.